Good morning, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are. Let me welcome you to this another episode of the Saudi Press Show. Fans, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that you're not accustomed to the Saudi Press Show being up on this hour or time of the day, but guess what? We are moving into a different section at times, and we are now linking with the English Premier League, and more so, we are speaking with our special guest this morning, Paul Whittick, a very inspirational and a mentor in his part of the land, or should I say, the country in which he's from. More so, I must say, congratulations to all the Liverpool fans for enjoying themselves over the Christmas and the start of the new year. But nevertheless, let me welcome Paul Whittick to the Saudi Crest Show. Paul, a special welcome to you, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Morning, Kev. I'm really good. Thank you for what must be an early start for you, because it's 11:30 in the morning here in the UK. So yeah, I appreciate you getting up so early. It must be very early over your side, but at least you've got the heat because we've got the cold over here now.
I tell you. Well, guess what? That's how it is. And I must say to you that getting up early this morning on a Saturday morning, it must be football related.
Yeah,
So back then when you used to have those very early games,
that's it.
those 6:30 games, that's the time that we have to get up, especially if our favorite team is playing. We'll have to up from 5 to get ourselves relaxed and ready. But
Wow,
yes,
that's commitment.
good. Paul, this is long and waiting for you to appear on the Saudi Crest Show. And I'm sure that today, this morning, will be one that everyone will enjoy, knowing that we have never done anything so close to EPL, so to speak. We have our little chats, but nothing seriously, nothing intimate with the EPL.
Hmm.
We want to look, see if you could bring to us some real information of what's going on. We are hyped now in the second transfer season and so on. Can you share with us what are some of the most interesting transfer talk going around the EPL?
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I was just looking through a list, and it's actually been quite a quiet January. I mean, last year was a bonanza. I think it was one of the busiest transfer windows on record for January last season. But I think a lot of teams this year have been, and clubs have been a little bit cautious of financial fair play,
Yes.
especially with respect to what's happened to Everton initially and their 10-point deduction. And then more latterly, even in the last 7 days, talk of Nottingham Forest and Everton receiving further sanctions under financial fair play. And I think a number of teams are just kind of, whereas they might have gone into the market, they've been really cautious. I mean, just looking at my list very quickly,
Yes.
this is not the whole league, but just a few so far. So, like, Arsenal have done nothing, nobody in, nobody out. Brighton, nobody in, nobody out. Crystal Palace, Everton, Newcastle, and Nottingham Forest have done nothing. My own team, your team, Liverpool, we've not brought anybody in, but we have put 6 out on loan, including young Carvalho. But again, the business has been quiet. Probably the most significant business has been at Tottenham.
Yes.
So Tottenham have actually made actual signings, because the other business that's been done, I mean, Brentford, they've loaned Sergio Reguilon from Tottenham. Burnley, they've loaned David Fofana from Chelsea. But the actual signings, non-loan, actual, in the door, signed as a player, Timo Werner and Radu Dragisin from Genoa. And so Timo Werner we know quite a bit about from his time in the Premier League with Chelsea. I think it's fair to say he wasn't the most successful in terms of his goal record.
Yes.
But he is a player, he's an exciting player with a lot of pace. And I think maybe with the right coach and the right support, with that pace, because the Premier League is all about speed, he could be, somebody who could be quite challenging to play against and difficult if he can start scoring goals. So I think part of that might just be the right environment, the right coach. And I mean, I start with that because if you think about Kevin De Bruyne and from our club, Mo Salah, two players who had a spell at Chelsea and were pretty much written off by the press and many pundits. They went away from Chelsea to other clubs, and then they're now at their respective clubs, and arguably one or two of the best 10 players in the world in De Bruyne and in Salah. So maybe there's something to be said about Chelsea, the environment there, or the coaching there, the setup there. Obviously, it's different now to when Werner was there in terms of the manager,
Yes,
the Pochettino. But it's interesting to see that he's actually thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to give the Premier League another try, because that in itself takes courage to go back to a league where you weren't necessarily as successful as where you were previously. So that'll be interesting to see. And then Dragusin. I mean, Dragusin's an interesting one because I'll be honest, I don't keep an eye to the Serie A, the Italian league, as much as I used to do back in the 90s and when they had some of the world's best players. It's probably not the Premier League that it was now. But Dragusin, the little bit of looking up I've done on him, there's a lot of really positive comment about him and the kind of player that he is and what he'll actually bring to Tottenham. Interestingly, going the opposite way was Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer joins up with Harry Kane. And that was an interesting move because Dragusin could have actually gone there as well, could have gone to Bayern, but he actually kept to his word. His original agreement with Tottenham was that he would join them at a time that was right, and he's kept to that, even though it's reported that the deal at Bayern was going to be much more lucrative. And also, you might argue the chance to win silverware with Bayern would be greater than with Tottenham. But he might see it that if he joins Tottenham, he maybe might help them become a team that can challenge for silverware. Because I don't think Tottenham are too far away from where they need to be a solid top four club and challenging for silverware. But I mean, definitely this season they've been really positive. It's been a breath of fresh air actually for the time they're atop of the league, as much as they're not my team. But to see somebody else up there challenging and making the Premier League the league that it is.
You're speaking about Tottenham, but somehow I can't understand. Tottenham seems to find it difficult to put a long string of wins on the table. They would have popped up for 4 good games and, put them in very good position, and then they have fell off for a number of games. And, what's really happening? How long would it take? What is the problem you think with a Tottenham, regardless of the coach? That's how the Tottenham team plays over the past couple of years.
I think it's mindset. So I think, okay, people might not like his methods in terms of Jose Mourinho I'm referring to now. But when he was at Tottenham, he was quite honest and quite fair about his comments as the mentality of the squad and the mentality of certain players. And he's done that at other clubs. And in fairness, he's kind of came out to be in the right position. I mean, the obvious one at Manchester United was Luke Shaw. He spoke about Luke Shaw and, said the guy's not fit enough for his age and not fit enough to be a Man United player. And Luke Shaw had to go away and have a look at himself, and he did come back and improved. Okay, some people might say not do it in the press, etc. But again, and he spoke about Tottenham, going back to Tottenham when he was at Tottenham, and felt that there's a mindset there. There's like a belief of almost kind of, top 6 is enough, but has he really got a team of winners, killers, like players who doesn't matter what, they want to win and want to succeed? And I've played in teams, winning teams, where we've won leagues and we've won cups. And there's something about a phrase that's often used like winning ugly. Winning is not always beautiful. It's not always pretty. To get over the line, sometimes you have to do things which, for the most part, maybe a little bit unsporting, but it's about how do you get that success.
So really, there's this talk about ugly win is better than a pretty loss.
Well, a win's a win, a win's a win. And let's be honest, in sport, which is what we're in and what we love, people only really remember first place. You know, you even look at the Olympics and you get a silver medal, you get a bronze. How many people can you tell me with the silver and bronze medals from the last few 100-meter women or men's races? You don't remember them. You
true.
remember the gold. You know, so it's a mindset that I struggle with the mentality change that has been. So I'm a qualified coach here in the UK, and during doing my coaching badges, one of the emphases that changed
Yes.
that changed in terms of coach mentality was that we shouldn't put so much pressure on the kids that winning matters. It's all about participation. That's what counts. And for somebody who's nearly reaching a half century in time on this planet, I find that really hard. The environment and the generation I grew up in, winning does matter, because whether it's in sport, whether it's in work, in school, college, university, whatever it is, being competitive, being driven, and trying to do your best matters. And I really worry for a generation or so below me, where they've grown up in an environment where just taking part, just being present is enough. My brain I can't compete with that. I can't compete with that. I've had to adapt how I coach, because obviously I've got a generation of parents and kids who their expectations have changed. You know, we also have something over here called equal minutes. So when you're doing youth football, you're supposed to give equal play time to all players. So not only have you got to be a coach, you've got to be a maths genius to work that out, you know. But yeah, you could have your star striker. They've had their allocated minutes. You've got to bring them off and bring on little Johnny, who can't even tie his shoelaces, but you've got to give him equal minutes. Yeah.
You see, one of these things, and I believe that is good for development, really. But because of the situation, the nature in which, or should I say, the direction in which football is going now, the matter of winning, people want silverware.
Yes.
But at that tender age, I strongly believe that the emphasis should really not placing on winning for youth football, if you're looking at development, right? So
I think
that's a good one.
Participation is important, but let me tell you this, because I also referee youth football and adult football as well, and I can promise you, whether I'm refereeing adults at the weekend or children, those kids, they're as competitive. Like, kids individually, they know what success feels like. They know what success is. They know when you've picked a team and you've played or picked the best players amongst them. And they know when you've picked the ringers, you know, they know.
Yes.
So as much as a coach, it's my responsibility to try and bring that fair and even environment and create that environment where everybody can progress. And what, you know, somebody's version of success may look very different to somebody else's. You know, at the end of the day, not all boys and girls are going to make it professional. The numbers are so small that actually get through to that level where they can have a career in the game. But you can always see at a very young age, this is why clubs buy players, or sign players, I should say, from like 6 and 7 and 8 years old now. You see the reports now, and it happens because they can see that ability, they can see that drive. And also, it's like, if they can't get those players into the academy setup young, when you're like 13, 14, the amount of learning that you've missed, football learning that you've missed in terms of understanding the game.
Yes.
The academy coaches, they haven't got the time. They haven't got the time to teach position. They haven't got the time to teach the awareness that you will have learned at 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. So the other thing is, if you don't get in early, if you're not on that pathway early, it's very difficult. We do have stories and situations where players come to football late from non-league and come up the very difficult way through the pyramid. But that's more unusual than it is usual.
You know, again, I need to go back to a situation that you mentioned earlier, Paul. And I want my fans and the YouTube and everybody, I want you to forgive me for this. Normally, my guests would have introduced themselves, but I was so anxious to get to go. You know, I was really so anxious to get this one going, you know, knowing that time is such a matter of fact, it's a really short show we have tonight, this morning. But Paul, you mentioned so many things: refereeing, coaching.
Yeah.
You know, can you just, for us and for the viewers,
Yeah.
In short, what are your involvement over the years and presently in football?
Yeah. Okay. So, in short, I'm an FA qualified coach, an FA trained mentor, an FA qualified referee, and I still play veterans football in an FA affiliated league on a Sunday. Over the years, I've probably coached for 25 plus years now, at varying different levels, including semi-professionally at Step 6, which is in the pyramid system of English football. So that Step 6 is about 5, maybe 6 levels below League 2.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
so that's what you'd call non-league, or what some people call semi-pro. So I've coached at that level, played at that level as well when I was much younger, and just had a love of football all my life. It's the thing that just brings a bit of stability to my life, helps keep me fit, social, all of those things. So yeah, that's me. In fact, actually, before coming on with you, I had a message from a team for tomorrow morning asking if I could referee a game for them, but I've had to politely decline because of prior arrangements. So yeah, I'm still busy. Last season, I was assistant manager at a veterans football team. End of the season, I took a step back because I feel I've still got enough in my legs to continue playing. So now I'm just playing with the team. So that's a big shout out to Kilburn Vets. We're currently top of our Veterans League, so we're doing really well. So hoping for a really positive season. So still very much involved in the game, still involved locally. So I still help mentor like other teams, like managers and coaches who need support and help. They'll ring me. Again, had a phone call this morning from a coach who coached the girls team this morning. So I'm busy. Even when I'm not running the team, I'm still a person that people reach out to, and just try and help in the community as well. So I've also helped. I've worked with a number of community-based clubs where the demographic is culturally based. So that's been the majority of the players, either Asian or black teams. Worked closely with a Christian football team for a number of years as well, and still involved with their manager as well. So yeah, just keep going, keep ticking along in the game.
Paul, we here in Jamaica follows the EPL quite well. We
Yeah,
have our teams, and you know the whole fanfare thing. I think you have it in your own little clothes there in the UK. But
yeah,
basically, we have two young, inspirational, two very talented footballers who have one of them lighting up the EPL now in
yes,
Leon Bailey, and
yes,
he just joined the EPL from Jamaica, from the Phoenix Academy. We have Dujan Whisper Richards. I don't know how much have you learned about him, gone to Chelsea. Tell me something, Paul, from a Jamaican background, from your standpoint. How do
yeah.
you feel about these youngsters coming from Jamaica and making an impact, as if, in the fact that you are Leon Bailey have some very good important stats over the past couple of months.
Yeah,
Talk to us about that.
yeah, it's fantastic. And to be fair, I mean, if we go back a little bit, and it links into my love of Liverpool, because obviously we had John Barnes play for Liverpool, who's of Jamaican descent, and even though he's played for England, also Raheem Sterling has got a strong Caribbean and Jamaican history as well. But Leon Bailey, I mean, again, the season he's having, I mean, to be fair, even last season he was good, but probably went under the radar a little bit. Probably didn't get the accolades he deserved. But this season, he's almost been unplayable. It's like his pace and his speed has almost gone up another level. And when Villa are doing good things, he's right in the middle of what they're doing. And it's fantastic to see, because if we think of athletics, which is another love of mine, Jamaica has always punched above its weight for the size of the island. We've always stood toe to toe with the Americans and even Britain
True.
in the sprints. And God rest her soul, my mum, when we used to watch athletics together, and Merle Inotti would still be running in her grand years and still medaling at a world and international stage. It's a proud thing to think how small the island is and how much success comes from there. So to see another young Jamaican being successful, but also in the EPL, which is regarded as the best league in the world, it's fantastic. It's fantastic, and just it's credit to the structure that he's come through. Because again, like I say, it's very difficult and unusual unless you're in that academy setup in England to kind of break in from outside, because it's a different mentality, it's a different thought process, a different climate. For one, if you've been born and bred in Jamaica, then you come over here, and like now at the moment in the UK, it's like 0 degrees here up in Derby, and you've got to go out and play. That's very different to like the nice warmth that you're going to be experiencing in the Caribbean. So that can be a culture shock, and that sometimes people don't appreciate how those things can affect a person.
True.
If you're used to a certain environment, you're only playing football in front of people for 90 minutes. All the rest of the time you're training, you're living. And if that environment's very different to what you're used to, that can have a massive impact on how you feel internally. And then when we think about sport, how your mind is affects how you play. So if those external things aren't right, that can have a massive impact on how well you perform. But Bailey's doing really well. So it's great, really great to see that, and to see him hailing from the Jamaica islands, and the islands of the West Indies is what I meant to say, but it came out back to front, so apologies.
So Paul, we should embrace these youngsters with all that we have, because talking about Leon Bailey, Dujan Whisper Richards, who is from the same system that Bailey strives from, the Phoenix Academy, managed by Craig Butler.
Brilliant.
What have you heard? What have you seen? What's talking about these youngsters? Even though it's not with us.
I've not heard or seen very much of him at all. Do you say he's gone to Chelsea?
Yes.
Yeah, that could be why, because Chelsea have a great scouting network, and they do pick up some of the best young talent. As we well know, within the family, we've got there's our relative Zach Sturge. He's on Chelsea's books as a professional, signed with Chelsea. Also has a deal with Nike, which is fantastic. He's been on loan, I think it was to Peterborough for part of this season, but I think he's back with Chelsea now. So Chelsea are good at spotting the talent, because Zach was originally at Brighton. But they're good at spotting the talent, but sometimes it can get a bit lost in their setup. And like we were talking earlier about Salah and De Bruyne, sometimes it's almost they've got an abundance of riches, and they do bring them in and then put them out on loan, and then kind of filter them through. So I think, I don't know that much about him, I'll be perfectly honest. I've not heard that much about him. But I think sometimes the better trick is almost like what Bailey's done, to maybe go to what might be seen as a less fashionable club in Aston Villa, but get your first team football, get your experience, because then the world's your oyster. And, age being no barrier, you look at the likes of Jude Bellingham now at Real Madrid, and I think he's only just turned 20, going 21. So, again, if you make the right moves, like he went to Germany, got his football, got regular first team football, because nothing replaces that. Even at the level I play at now, just Veterans League, playing matches, you can't compare playing matches to just training. You can train and be train ready, but nothing prepares you for matches like matches. And so it's important that young players get regular play time and regular football. It's so important.
Are you saying your Veterans League is very, very competitive?
Oh, it's super competitive.
My God.
It's
not really fun. It's competition.
It's proper competition. It's not just like men who are old enough to know better, just chilling out. No, it's serious. It's serious.
Oh, Lord.
It's serious.
Interesting.
Yeah.
No.
I still have to go to the gym and keep fit. It's serious. It's not just walk in and just walk on the grass. No, this is proper business, proper stuff.
Wow, interesting, man. EPL. It's in the real coming to the business end of the EPL.
Yes.
And we look at the table.
Yes.
Our team, Liverpool, is leading. And of course, the wily Man City is in second.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the team we just spoke about with Leon Bailey, Aston Villa, doing very, very great work.
Yes.
And recently, the Arsenal that so many persons here in Jamaica, and I believe in the UK too, supports, but
Yes,
have fallen, out of grace a little bit.
a
Talk
little
to
bit
us.
out of touch. Yeah.
Give me your views at the table right now, Sir Paul.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're looking at the top six in order, we've got Liverpool, Man City, Aston Villa, Arsenal, Tottenham, and then West Ham. Um, West Ham I might discount simply because they're like 6 points off Tottenham. So if we're looking at Tottenham to Liverpool, there's 5 points between those teams, just 5 points. So you're talking a couple of wins. If other teams above slip up, and those 5 positions could change quite significantly. So, I mean, if we go in reverse order, Tottenham started really well, leading the table at 1 point as well. And I think everybody saw Ange Postecoglou as the new messiah
Yes.
because of how strongly they started. But I think, in fairness to Tottenham, they've brought in some new players in the likes of Maddison and others who've been injured. But those players that they've brought in had an immediate impact in improving the team. So obviously that's had a net effect on them. And also with the Asia Cup going on currently, they've got Son away at the Asia Cup, so they're missing. But prior to that, Richarlison was starting to score goals. So it looks like he might be stepping up into the space that Son has left. And he needs to, because that's what he was bought for. I mean, last season, it's fair to say he didn't really tear up any trees, but faith has been shown in him since his transfer from Everton. So it'll be interesting to see, before Son comes back from the Asia Cup, what he can contribute to Tottenham's success and propel them back at the table. And obviously, once Maddison, who's a really good creative player, comes back into the fold, what impact he can have for them as well. In fourth position, you've got Arsenal. Arsenal's a funny one, really, because obviously, I mean, they've experienced what we've experienced, which is to lose the league to Man City by 1 or 2 points, which is just devastating in the end. But Man City have a way of just getting in the groove and they're just like a machine. They just start to win and win and win and just blow everything out of the water. I think this season so far has been one of the most competitive over the last 3 or 4, because in terms of the teams that have been up in the top 5 or 6, and also who's been leading the table, there's been other teams other than just Man City or ourselves. But Arsenal is an interesting one because, I mean, a lot of people, obviously we've got Ivan Toney coming back from his ban this weekend. He's going to lead Brentford out as captain.
Yes.
And a lot of talk has been about Ivan Toney going to Arsenal and being what they're missing, which is a striker.
The striker.
Yeah. Havertz is not a striker. Jesus is not a striker. As good as they are and the qualities they have are fantastic, but they're not out and out number 9s. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's still 10 or 11 days left of the window. In the interviews that Ivan Toney's done this week, he's made no secret of the fact that if somebody comes in from him, he'll move, which has, sparked a bit of controversy, because I think a lot of people have thought maybe he would have shown a bit more loyalty to Brentford and said, no, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to see this out until the end of the season with Brentford. But, he's a player. He's got ambitions, and let's see where that takes him. So then that moves us on to Aston Villa, who must, by all accounts, be over the moon with where they are this season. Ironically, their manager, who was previously at Arsenal, Unai Emery, he's doing an amazing job with what is essentially the same squad that Steven Gerrard had, as much as it breaks my heart to say that. But he seems to be getting an amazing tune out of those players. Ollie Watkins up front looks like a different player, scoring goals for fun. Leon Bailey, we've already mentioned, and John McGinn also doing fantastic. I mean, they've got a World Cup winning goalkeeper. So they've got a really good squad. When you actually look at it, they've got a decent squad. So in one way, you think, well, they should be towards the top of the table, or at least in the top half. My only issue for Villa is strength and depth. If they get a couple of injuries in key positions, have they got the strength and depth to come in and sustain where they are in terms of getting wins? So that would be my only concern for Villa. But I think they're in good form to finish strong, and maybe even get in the Champions League or stay in the Champions League qualification spots, which I think for Aston Villa, considering it's only a few seasons ago they were in the Championship, I think that'd be a massive achievement for them. Amazing. So that brings us on to the light blue enemies in Man City.
Yes.
Stalking us on 43 points, equal points with Villa, but they've played one game less, 20 games. So yeah, we're completely, just around the halfway point of the season, and City is starting to purr. And then, as we saw in the last game, 65, 70 minutes, new haircut. Kevin De Bruyne steps on the field, doesn't even look fully fit because he's not running at any pace, but comes in and completely changes the game. He's
He's in the chuckling mode.
Well, when you're that good, and the game, and you can see he's one of those players where the game just comes easy to him. It just comes easy. The goal where he passed the ball through the defender's legs into this corner. Oof.
It's like skimmage. It's like a six-a-side.
I was watching it. I was thinking, this is the Premier League. You can't do that. You can't be. But he did. Just it makes the game look so easy. So you can only imagine how quickly football's processing in his brain. It's a joy to watch. And as a fan of football, not of Man City, but a fan of football, happy to see him back because I've had a serious injury in my career and it's not fun. And seeing him back from injury is great. It's good for football. It's good for the Premier League as a product as well. But it spells problems for everybody else because
Paul, while I'm expecting, I would love my team to win. But before I go there, let me take the opportunity to big up some people in the chat. Ronaldo, big up yourself. I know you're at work, right? So good to join. RR. Well, I never tell you about this class. Testing 1, 2, 3. I think RR is also a Liverpool fan. What you say about that, RR? Blessings, Mr. Whittick. He said that Whittick Nation. That's how we start.
All over. We're all over.
Yeah. So I am pretty worried. And to be honest with you, I'm a diehard Liverpool fan.
Yeah, man, me there too.
I will not be getting any heartache if we lost. Whatever the case is, I just go with it. All right, straight Liverpool fan RR. But with Man City getting back Kevin De Bruyne, their talisman will be back shortly.
Yeah.
And what I'm seeing now, Liverpool seems to be getting weaker with some injuries.
Yes.
Mo Salah is out on duty.
Yeah.
Also have an injury concern. Endo, who started at Liverpool very well, I believe.
Very well. Yeah, he's coming and done really well.
What can we expect? Should we in a panic mode at this time? Should we go in a panic mode?
Well,
your views?
Again, interestingly, I was looking at the transfers, and as I said, 6 players have gone out on loan from Liverpool. We've not brought anybody in, not purchased or loaned anybody in. So that tells me that Klopp is quite happy with the group that he has. Well, happy enough to let some go on loan as well. So he's let some players out. I was watching highlights of the African Cup of Nations the other day with Egypt and saw Salah pulling up. It looked a bit it wasn't really like he came together with a play. It just looks maybe like a muscular injury. So that's a worry because that's 2, 4, 6 weeks maybe that we may lose him for. I'd imagine they've done the scan already, and the results of that will be coming through shortly as to what's actually happened. We've also, I believe, just before the winter break as such, Szoboszlai had a bit of an injury as well. So that's a concern because he's just been a revelation for us. He's just been absolutely amazing. Just come in and you wouldn't even think he had never been with us. He's slotted in and given what was there before and more. He's took that midfield role to the next level. Him and Gravenbach look amazing and really give me confidence for the future with where we're heading. Jota's come back from injury. Hopefully, he'll stay fit. 'Cause obviously, sometimes when a player comes back, they can be prone to re-injury quite quickly. Things with Diaz's father, that's all been sorted out, so he should be back on fire. I think we've got enough. What we need, and this is something I've said to people season in, season out, for Liverpool or any other team to win the league in this Man City era, other teams have to take points off Man City. It can't just be we beat them in a head-to-head or lose, and that's what decides the league. Other teams need to take points off them to give anybody else a chance. And that has happened this year. I think we saw Wolves. I think Wolves got a win against them earlier in the season, if I'm not mistaken. And as they kind of faltered around 5th or 6th place, and people were like, oh, the wheels have fallen off, and here they are now, right breathing down our necks. So Man City will always come good just by the quality they have in their squad. I mean, they could put their second 11 out, and that would finish in the top 6 within the Premier League quite comfortably. There's no other team that can do that. Not even us. We don't have that budget. We just don't have that resource, and our structure isn't set up that way as Liverpool. But we do have some very good youngsters. I mean, Curtis Jones is now coming into being a regular, and he's come through the ranks, and that's great to see. What we've got is players are going to have to step up, Kev. If we want to win this league, everybody knows if you want to win the league at the moment, you've got to finish above Man City. And if you do that, you'll more than likely win the league. We're in front of them now. So you could argue, let's keep going. Let's keep doing. And like RR's saying, we're still in 4 competitions. Anything's possible. And let's remember, last season, we kind of dropped off the ball a little bit. But then the season before that, right until the last stages, we were on for winning 4 trophies. And I do think part of that was a bit of burnout from the players because we were fighting on all 4 fronts. And then it was also a season where we had a World Cup in the winter. So players were playing a lot of games. I think we look good. I think we look back to our energetic and pressing selves that we've been. That team that you lose the ball against us and we've got it back within 2 and 3 seconds and we're causing you a problem. We're back to that. What we need to see now is Gakpo and Núñez start putting goals in the back of the net. They're getting in the positions, they're making the movements, but they've scored goals, but we need more. We need more.
Especially Núñez. Núñez, I believe, oh my God. I don't think there's any other player who have gotten so many chances or missed so many goals as Núñez did over the past few matches. He needs to start scoring.
Yeah.
What is it? I understand. A professional, he has the attributes of a good striker. But what it takes, what really happens? Do you think it's a mental thing?
It is. I believe it is. I believe it's just composure, because if you look at the goals that he's scored where it's just instinctive, where he's got a split second and he's just got to hit the ball and shoot and he scores. When he's got maybe a second to think of what to do, it's just that moment of composure is not quite there. And I think it's just time. I think it's coaching and time. He's in a great environment at Liverpool. Great environment. You've seen many a player develop. I mean, look, the biggest one for me is Andy Robertson. Andy Robertson come from Hull. Nobody really knew anything about Andy Robertson, to really talk about. He's now Scotland's captain. And for a season or 2, people might argue one of the best left backs in Europe. He was almost unplayable. Between him and Trent, the assists that came from left and right back, ridiculous numbers for defenders, ridiculous. So we have missed him this season. That's fair to say. But I think what I'm trying to say is the development of Andy Robertson it instills in me the confidence that Núñez, given the chance, people stay patient with him in the club, it will come. And I mean, look who he's got to learn off. One of the best strikers in the world in Mo Salah, who's not even really a striker, he's meant to be a winger. But he's a great finisher. So if he can take anything from him and he's training with him day in, day out, surely we will see an improvement. For me, it's just composure. It's just having that moment. It's not even a second, because it's less than that in time, in real time. But in your head, it can feel like a minute almost. It can feel like a lot of time when you're in front of goal and you've got time to do stuff. But when he's instinctive, he's deadly. When he's got time to think, it's just training him to be more instinctive all the time. And then the goals will come, because I would be worried if he wasn't getting in the positions. Looking at it as a coach and as a manager, if he wasn't getting in the positions to cause or to miss the goal, then I'll be worried, you know. But he's getting there. He's getting in front of defenders. He's getting there first. His end product is sometimes lacking, but he's getting there, and he will score goals. He will.
He has the ability to run from
Oh,
behind and to beat the defenders. I know that he has that opportunity. I know
Kevin,
that
he has it all. He's got the height. He's not blisteringly quick, but he's quick enough. He's physical.
Yes.
He can play off both feet. He can go in behind. He can come short. He's strong on the ball. All those things. There's a lot of things there that, you know, there's strikers who've churned out a career who haven't even got all those attributes, and they've churned out a career. So there's a lot of things he's got in the locker already. It's just we just need a little bit more. And like RR says, yeah, he's a street baller. It's true. He just needs refining. He just needs polishing up a little bit. And this guy, 20 goals a season comfortably. Yeah.
Well, our beloved Liverpool. As I said before, I tell you, Trent Alexander, right now, I'm not sure what to say in terms of Trent's position. I don't know. This whole interchanging from right back to
this inverted fullback business.
I tell you, this football is going like a Nintendo game, yes?
It's true. But, it's true.
You know, it's amazing. But what's the word on Trent right now? What's the nature of his injury? How soon will Trent be back?
Well, again, I don't know too much about when he'll be back. He'll be missed, that's for sure. But it's an opportunity now for Gomez to step up and step in. As a team, it's a bit of a loss because Gomez, while a decent defender, he doesn't offer the passing range that Trent has. So that's a big loss to the team. But I believe it's a minor knee injury. Is it with Trent? I believe. Yes. So I mean, if it's just like if it's tissue injury rather than ligaments, then it's weeks rather than months. Let's hope it's just minor. But let me just have a quick look. Trent.
I think it said that's a lateral ligament.
Lateral ligament.
Right.
Okay, so you're talking a number of weeks then, before he'll return, because that's going to need strengthening and so on and so forth. So he's going to be a big miss for us. But if we take away the injury, I mean, how he's been playing this season, brilliant. I think between him and Van Dijk being awarded the captaincy was a great move by Klopp, clever move. And I think Trent's grown into the role. I think it's helped him to flourish. I think that extra responsibility, because sometimes when you're the captain, you own the process. When your team's struggling, you own that process. You think, right, what can I do more? Let's get the players. Let's rouse the players. Let me make sure that my performance is as good as it can be, because that will give energy to my teammates who might be struggling. So I think he's actually grown from actually being made captain and vice captain between him and Van Dijk. And how he's been playing, well, I would wonder whether we will soon see him play midfield more consistently and leave the right back position behind, because I think he could do that comfortably. In his early footballing years, he was a midfielder, but then was converted to a right back. It's often said that his defensive side of things is not his best, but then what he's asked to do by the team or by Klopp or the coaching staff, he's always on the offensive. So he is going to get caught more than other teams' right backs who just actually sit in and stay in that right back position and don't attack and push as much, even before he was playing the inverted position where he moves into the midfield as well. So he is exposed in that way, but I would love to see him just move into the midfield permanently. Then you've got a midfield of like McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, Trent. Oof.
My God, it seems like we have to play four in midfield.
You know?
But, you know, and that lights though, I'm sure that you probably have some talks with a few friends and colleagues over this whole title race and so on. I mentioned the panic mode, you know, seeing how City normally respond in this part of what is like in your neck of the woods. Tell me the truth. How are you feeling right now?
Well, I mean, it's always better to have the points. Like my veteran side, we're top of our table right now. We've got the points. We're on top of the league. But it means that everybody's coming for you. And that's the same for Liverpool. Everybody's coming for us. In 3 other competitions as well, everybody's coming for us. And all we can do is literally one game at a time, try and get the win. And if you do that until the end of the season, as things stand now, as we're ahead on points, we would win the league. So if we keep winning and we don't lose, we win the league. Now, whether we can achieve that or not remains to be seen. But we're in that position, similar position to where Arsenal were. The difference is we've gotten over the line against Man City. We've won the league in the last 5 or 6 years. So we know what it takes. We know that they will not drop much behind us. You know, games where they play 60%, they will still get a win. You know, there's not many teams that can do that, but they're good enough that they can play within themselves and they will blow teams away still because of the level of their players and the coaches they have and just, yeah, that they are to be, you know, hats off. But we're in the driving seat and it's in our hands. We keep winning, we win the league. And that's all we can do. Take it a game at a time and keep going.
Paul, we're up now at the end of the show. I tell you, it's so enticing. But I just want to say this to you. I want to leave this to you. My major concern with Liverpool is really the way they concede their goals and the timing of conceding those goals. We can't continue to concede early goals and want to come from behind, as all they always say, to win matches.
Yeah.
You know, if we can get that thing sorted out, and I think it's an issue. I over the years, I've been blaming our coach for that. It is being a team problem. And as a coach, I think that needed to sort it out. We can't continue to concede goals so early in the games. And it's not just from big teams, our so-called big name teams. Every match that we played, we have given up an opportunity to teams to score on us very early.
Yeah. But you know what I'd say? I mean, because our stats for scoring, not only in the second half, but past 70 minutes, is really strong for coming back in games. Interestingly, because it's interesting how perception is different sometimes. So if I look at the table now, goals for Liverpool 43, goals for Man City 48, goals against Liverpool 18, goals against Man City 23. So our defence has actually conceded 5 less goals than Man City's. But you wouldn't have thought that because we've been behind in so many games this season, and there's games where we've conceded 2 and 3 goals.
And 3.
The perception would be that we're actually defensively not that great. But in actual fact, of the top 2 teams there, we've actually conceded less goals. In fact, the top 4 teams, 5 teams I'll go to, we've conceded the least number of goals.
We conceded the least number of goals in the league.
You know, so it's interesting how perception, you know, how it looks. Because, again, as I say, there's been games where we have conceded goals early, but we're strong. We're coming back strong. And I think that's also the sign of a team that will go very close to winning something this season. I would love it if we could win all 4 trophies that we're in. That's going to be a major, major ask. It's not impossible. As Man City proved last season when winning 3, you know, 1 more couldn't hurt. We're still in all 4. So while we're in all 4, let's go for all 4. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that we will take something home. This season, of course, I am so confident. But what I really wanted, it's nerve-wracking, but it's good. It's good competitive football. And I think the EPL right now, no one can afford to miss a game. Not just their own teams. But, you know, interestingly, even the mid-table teams, games are interested because you know, there are some teams at some point will put up a fight. And, you know, I am afraid of some teams, they will just take points away from you. They're not into the what would I say, the challenge for the title, but they will just rip you apart and tore you down just to take away a few points. And that is where the challenge is. Those are the teams that I'm afraid of. Those, what would I say? No, it's not a below average, but those at the lower end.
Mid-table. I think mid-table's the polite way. Mid-table.
At the lower end too. Liverpool always drop points to very, you know, lower end teams at times.
Yeah. I think sometimes where we've struggled is when teams play what's deemed or called a low block, or just get very defensive. So 4 or 8 players, 2 lines of 4, or 5 and a 3, or whatever. Just parked on the edge of the area, and compressing the space, that is at times where we found it very difficult to break teams down. So that's probably where, you know, we would hope to be more intelligent in finding ways to solve that problem, because when we come against the likes of the Lutons, the Sheffield Uniteds, not so much Burnley, because Kompany's staying with his guns and trying to make Burnley continue to play football and play an open and expansive style of football. Whereas the other teams that have come up, they're very much like, right, when we come against big guns, we're going to sit in and defend. And so then it takes, you know, something quite special for us to break that down. But we have that within our squad. We have that within our team. We have to keep going. Just noticed a little question there from R&R. Mourinho to the EPL. He's still one of the best managers in the world. You know, like him or hate him, a bit like Marmite. There's probably some club chairmen, some, you know, within the Premier League thinking, I'd take him. You know, because even when he's not done well, he's still sort of done well. Like at Tottenham, he was sacked before he could go to the cup final, but invariably Tottenham would have probably won the cup final had he been with them. At Manchester United, with a really poor squad, he still managed to win silverware and finish runners-up in the league. So Mourinho knows, like I was talking about earlier, that mentality of winning. You either know what it is or know what it takes. He knows how to get teams to win and get players to win. He's maybe not the best coach in terms of developing players, but in terms of getting success out of teams, amazing. Really, really good. Yeah.
I want to say to you, Paul, are saying that Chelsea or Newcastle?
Oh.
I would like for him to go to Chelsea. To me, it would be heartbreaking for Chelsea to sack Pochettino. At this early stage. It's going to be difficult. And whoever take this Chelsea team now will have a very, very challenging time.
Massively challenging job.
Season. It's just more than coaching right now, I believe, in Chelsea.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's
so
a lot,
Paul, it is basically time for you to go to your game. I'm sure that you want to watch that Arsenal game right now. And
that's correct. That's well, we've led up to that really nicely. Really nicely. Yeah.
Yes. So the truth is, we are now 52 minutes. We plan not to pass 45. You can imagine time moves so fast.
I know. Well, we initially said 30 minutes.
Yes. So, Paul, I'm going to allow you now to your final argument for the show, and that's where we'll take it out after you.
Okay. Well, all I can say is just to everybody that's listened or watched us, thank you for being present and listening to me witter on about the game that I love. I'm really hoping that Liverpool can win the league, just to break up the monotony more than anything else. But yeah, anything else that we win on top of that would be great. And just a shout out to the parents and the supporters of youth football, just to keep contributing, because without the commitment and the effort that parents and young coaches, female and male, put into youth football, we wouldn't have the professional game that we have today. So it's just a big shout out to you guys and girls, just to keep doing it. Those wet, well, maybe not so much in Jamaica, but those wet, cold mornings when you're setting up goals and pitches, and when you have to get home and wash kits, all the bits you have to do as a coach when you run a team that people don't see. Just keep going. Big shout out to you all. Love to you all.
Well, you can imagine when we're closing, we're getting some people. Franklin, Devon Whittick. Big up yourself, man.
Big shout out to D.
And Randy in the WhatsApp group is asking, when is this? Can you imagine, Randy? We're about to leave.
He's just joining now as we're signing off. Only Randy, huh? Only Randy.
Yes. But well, you know, it is a real, very interesting show. I enjoy your company. Trevor Whittick is the one. Big up Paul. So the Whittick's just trying
big
to
up, Trev.
I don't understand.
Yes, cuz.
Bless up yourself to the Whittick family. Ducky class, of course. Big up.
Yeah, man. Big up, Ducky.
Paul, you really commit yourself to have at least a once a week show, and maybe we'll have to look at the timing to get some of these people on. But it's a wonderful story. It has been a very good one, maybe people like Franklin wouldn't enjoy so much because we're not making much of an impact on his team. But just
we touched on Tottenham a little bit.
your Trevor said he said you can't do with that coach. So what is it? We can't leave. We have to. Paul has to go and watch his game. He has so many things. He's a very busy man in football.
Bless you.
Yes, and so big up yourself, Franklin. We don't know cars, as we say.
Come on, you Spurs himself.
Yes. So,
Kevin, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and to all your listeners and followers, thank you for sparing the time and taking the time to watch and listen.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. And this is where we say goodbye until then.